Ring walk, ThaBoxingvoice.com here in Los Angeles with Steven Espinoza. Steven, what is your new role? Because usually I say head of Showtime.
No, yeah,
Sports.
it's been 12 years since you've had to ask that question.
Yeah, so
right now it's unofficial. To be honest, like I'm not. I mean, usually see me in a suit, ready to go on the podium. Right now, I've got a lot of close friends and have done a lot of business with PBC. They're in a transition period into like a phenomenal opportunity, an opportunity that I think can change the trajectory of the sport and really bring the sport in front of a lot of people that it hasn't been in front of. So look, whether I'm officially involved or not officially involved, I have love for the sport. I love for these people. I want to make sure that they're good. So if I can help and contribute to a transition, it's a big change. You're going from a network that has been in it for almost 40 years, assumed a lot of things from PR to marketing to social media, and now you got to rebuild that entire structure. So I'm helping them do that. I mean, we'll see what the future holds, but in the time being, look, I'm just part of the team making sure that this event comes off as smoothly as it can.
So how much say would you say that you have at this point in the PBC and Amazon Prime juncture?
Look, I'm not president of anything anymore. I don't have a department working with me. It's more of a collaboration because, again, look, I didn't do everything and determine everything in my old role. I think people saw me as the head of an organization, but clearly there's a lot of talented people who deserve more credit than me.
Absolutely.
But now, it's a team of people, and we're putting together a new team. Because one of the things, the network has been producing these fights for the last 37 years. Now, the way Amazon is working on the pay-per-view deal and non-pay-per-view deal, PBC is producing. So you've got to put together a team, a social media team, a marketing team, a production team. That's what I'm helping do. Identify good people, good opportunities, help structure the telecast so it looks like something fresh and new and something that we can all be proud of going forward.
Now, I follow you on formerly Twitter, now X. So I know that you watch NFL, and I've seen what Amazon Prime's done with Thursday Night Football, but that's with Amazon Prime production. Why is it that they chose to not take that role and to leave that on PBC versus with their Thursday Night Football deal? They're the ones doing it.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a hybrid on Thursday night. So Thursday night is actually produced by NBC, the game itself. So Amazon does like pre and post game. So that's it. Now it's all branded Amazon, Amazon Prime rather. So it's like that. But look, here there's a lot of people that produce football, college football, NFL. There's a much smaller group of people. It's a specialty to produce combat sports and boxing in particular. So I think from their perspective, they said, look, you guys know more about this than we do. You put together the team. They're certainly having input. There's conversations going back and forth. Who's going to be the on-air talent? What is the look going to feel like? What technology is being used? So there's a lot of conversations, but ultimately, in terms of actually producing it, it's going to be PBC, which is sort of a wave of the future. If we look at Apple with MLS, MLS is doing the production. So we're seeing a lot of trends like that in the sport, where the league is actually handling the production rather than the network.
Apple's also paying MLS a nice.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And they took, a couple hundred games all season. So it's, it's a different structure. But I think you're seeing this more and more, for the streaming platforms in particular, and for the leagues. It works for a lot of different reasons to have the leagues in charge of production.
We talked about many different possibilities once the exit of Showtime was confirmed. Can you confirm to us who else was at least in the talks? We see Netflix now, who signed a huge deal with WWE. They recently did a golf event. They're doing a tennis event next month in Las Vegas. as live streams on Netflix. Were there any other true viable players as far as network homes for PBC?
Yeah, I mean, you name a network or platform, and PBC talked to them. Some of them I was involved in, some of them I wasn't, but everyone got the opportunity, and there are still opportunities and conversations ongoing. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was more added to this, another network, another platform going on, because this is a tremendous opportunity. But we all know the media market's changing a lot, and there's a lot of deals where there's more than one network involved. And I think with all the talent that PBC has, there's certainly enough to support two different platforms.
So I'm glad you brought that up. There's been indication to me, at least, that there could be an announcing of a terrestrial channel here soon. Can you confirm?
There are certainly terrestrial channels like traditional networks that are in conversations. I hesitate to sort of say it's going to be soon, it'll be this week, next week, the other, but there are real conversations going on and definite interest from sort of some of the more traditional networks in getting a PBC package.
Now, I'm going to be honest, a bit surprised with the amount of dates. Obviously, you brought up the amount of fighters that PBC has. Is there a possibility of seeing more dates for next year, or is this like a year-by-year deal with Amazon Prime? What are we looking at? Because I've heard 12 to 14. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So, is there a possibility for growth next year, or what's the current situation looking like?
Yeah, I think there's certainly not going to commit Amazon to anything. But I think as always, look, if we even look at Showtime, when Showtime first got into it, even what they were doing 12 years ago, we weren't doing as many dates as they ended up doing at the end. So this is a new venture for Prime. I understand. I would be in the same point. Sometimes you jump in with both feet. Sometimes you sort of go in step by step. So I think part of this is it's incumbent on PBC, to prove it and create that additional demand, create that good experience for Prime and all the Prime viewers. And candidly, it's also a responsibility, or at least an opportunity, on boxing fans. If this is a direction you want to see, this is, you want to see this continue. Look, I'm not saying you got to support everything, but it's important that people support this early on in order to send a message to Prime that we want more of this.
We do understand that you got to be given.
There's got to be quality, and I understand. Look, there's a lot of fighters. There's a lot more in the future. There's some big fights that are in the making. If we look at what happened over the last couple of years, those big fights got made. And sometimes it took a few months longer, but it wasn't generally years and years, in terms of most of the fights. I mean, Spence-Crawford took a little bit longer, but once negotiations started, actually for real, it was within 6 or 8 months we got it done. So I think, I'm not saying that this is the biggest card PBC has ever done. I think it's a high quality card. I think you got 2 really interesting fights at the top with a couple world title fights. And I think, again, if you're a boxing fan, you like what I see, you make sure and send the message to Prime that we're here to support the sport.
Absolutely. Really quick, you mentioned big fights you did last year on Showtime, no doubt about it. Tank Bryan, and then you mentioned the Bud and Spence fight. Really quick, we were hearing that there was a rematch clause for Bud and Spence to fight before 2023 was out. Is that rematch still on the table, or contractually, or are both fighters able to go in their separate direction now in this new year?
Well, I think Spence definitely wanted it. He was clear. He exercised it. I think Crawford was open and said, "Look, I'll give him that opportunity." Things have changed a little bit, with the eye surgery and some of this. So I think that the timing is the question. You've seen I think Crawford linked to a lot of different fights, a lot of different conversations. I'm sure he wants to get back in the ring. So look, depending on the timing, I think all of that's a possibility. Could we see the rematch? Sure. A lot of it depends on how Errol is healing and how his body's feeling. If it's going to be a long delay, it wouldn't be surprising me to see Crawford take another fight. But I do think that there's definitely interest between the two of them in doing it again. I know for sure Errol wants another opportunity, and I think everything's on the table at this point.
One of those other big fights that Crawford is linked to, just watching on my flight here, First Take, Stephen A. Smith is very upset that Crawford is in the running for the Canelo fight and feels that David Benavidez is being played or what have you. Is there any truth to that, to Canelo's schedule and Jamal Charlo and Terrence Crawford for 2024?
No, Canelo hasn't made any decisions. There have been a lot of conversations. He doesn't run from anybody. I don't believe he's running from David Benavidez. He hasn't run in the past. I don't think he's going to start now. So the reality, he's got a lot of opportunities. Like, he's sort of at the center of the sport in terms of everybody, everybody wants that fight. Everyone wants to say that they're in the running for that fight. But no, very much still to be determined, both May and September. So look, I know everybody's got an idea of what it's going to be and not going to be. At the end of the day, you should believe it when Canelo says it.
So just because you brought it up, for Canelo at least, the Mexican holidays are still the goal for this year. And any concern? Dana White's been like, they already booked this year for Mexican independence. They're talking about putting on the biggest show ever. Obviously, Canelo is as big of a Mexican athlete as we can get. What are you looking to do there? And obviously, is that still the goal for it?
Look, I think it's a great thing that UFC has started to adopt, the Mexican holidays and embrace the Mexican audience. For me, it's long overdue. They should have been doing this since the very start. So, for me, it's 20 years too late for them to start paying attention to the Mexican audience, the Mexican American. So, welcome to it. I'm glad you finally woke up and realized that some of these people have money too. In terms of the competition for the dates, not worried about it at all. Canelo in particular does fantastic business. We know his gates are the biggest in the sport. His gates are bigger than anything UFC has ever done. So if we're talking about big opportunities, big business, if you're a venue, if you're a network, you're going to be attracted to the biggest opportunity. What's going to generate the biggest revenue? And right now, that's Canelo Alvarez.
Absolutely. Last thing, there's been some recent conversations and indication that Gervonta Davis may be heading back overseas this summer in return to his ring. He's kind of indicated to that, but can you kind of tell us what that's looking like?
There were. I think Tank had a fantastic time when he fought over there in the UK. He was really well received. It was one of his best performances. He has a fantastic walkout. Like, it was a big thing. He has always felt the pull of going back there. I think that audience loves him. Even though he beat a British fighter, he's always felt the love of going back there. And it's a good atmosphere. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all, if he did go over there to fight again. Is it the next fight necessarily? No, I put Tank very much in the same position as Canelo. Still, everything's on the table. He's got to, Calvin's got to clear up his thing. Tank's got to clear up some of his things. But I think we'll have something in the near future. But again, I hear the same rumors. I think it's very possible, but not a strong. I wouldn't say that's the leading contender for the next fight.
Could we see some Amazon Prime dates international, perhaps? I know that recently, I'm sure you've seen the interview with Tazeki Umsi Turki Al-Sheikh went viral, and they've already done business with more than one network. It seems like they're not tied to not one network. Could we see some PBC fights over there? It seems like they're doing good things for the sport, at least.
Look, they're putting a lot of money in the sport. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I think there are strong points. I think there's some disadvantages. I think it's great to have another group that is passionate, enthusiastic, that wants big fights, that seems to want to expand the boxing audience. I think that's a positive thing, no matter who that is. So look, if they can help make big fights with PBC or otherwise, I think welcome to it. Now, I think the only danger is you don't want every big fight going over to Saudi, just like you don't want every big fight going to Vegas.
Right.
I don't think it's good for the health of the sport. It's not good for the marketing of the fighters. There needs to be UK fights. There need to be Australian fights. There need to be fights across the United States. So I don't think anybody is saying, by the way, everything needs to go to Saudi. I think that's what some people have been worried about. Hey, are you taking away from the fans and putting all the big fights there? I don't think we're there yet. I don't think that's their goal. I don't think that's a danger. So I don't see it as necessarily a negative thing that they come in. But like, Tim Tszyu, I think Tim Tszyu will probably do a lot of fights in the U.S. We did a couple of his fights last year at Showtime from Australia. Great atmosphere. I'd love to see Amazon pick those up.
He really brings them out. Let me tell you, at least in Australia, I was seeing the price point of the tickets that people were paying. The Tony Harrison fight, the other fights that he's had out there. I like what they're doing with them out there, and you could tell that even in Australia, with Tim or even with some of the other Australian fighters like George Kambosos, you could tell that they really care about the sport out there also.
Yeah, he's become a real known commodity there. His younger brother, is becoming a draw there too. Is a really exciting fighter. We saw Sam Goodman, Rayu Salim, fantastic fight. They got Liam Wilson, who works with the same promotional group. There's a lot of talent down there. So, I think, whether it's Tszyu on the card or him and his brother or the other fighters, I think Australia's got a lot of opportunities right now.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for your time. A pleasure as always, and looking forward to huge things this year.
Me too.
Thank you, brother.
All right, brother.
YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content or right here on our YouTube members.